All right. Hello, this is Isaiah Rude. I'm here with Benjamin. Yesterday we had a typing session with him. He came to the typist office and his diagnosis was ENTJ. And after the video, he wasn't fully convinced. I don't know if you went and saw that video, but I stayed a little longer after with him and we had a conversation about it. And it was then that I asked him another SI question, and he gave me an answer that I was unsure if an ENTJ would be able to answer in the way he did. But I'm going to see if I can get him to demonstrate that. I don't know if he can still, remember the thing I asked him from yesterday. What did I ask you from yesterday?
About the email conversation we had about the typing session and the sequence of events, what happened within each email, what we were talking about, the parameters of the email, things like that.
And can you still tell me the email exchanges?
It's starting to fade, but I think I could do a pretty good job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's I reached out to you because I was interested in a typing session. I'd seen some typing sessions on the channel, and I was interested in those, and accidentally put in your email address instead of the other email address, which threw me for a loop in the beginning. And you responded, and I was confused because you were saying that, first off, you weren't the person that I was trying to contact, so that was weird. And then you're explaining that there's two typists. There's Isaiah and there's Eric, and the fees are different for each. With $30 and $100. I'm not sure if I can say respectively because I can't remember the order in which I just said it.
Yeah.
But and then I responded back with a question on, well, I wanted Eric to do it. So if you're going to do it, is there a discount if you and Eric do it? Is the price different than if only Eric does it, or is the fee standard? And you responded back and said the fee was standard. And then I responded back and said, okay, well, if I'm going to pay the money for Eric to do it, then I want to have two perspectives and, buy one, get one free. So why not get you to come along also? So right. Then I asked for you to join also. And then we set up the conversation. You said that he was going to respond back at approximately 1 p.m., which was 4 p.m. my time. And it took about 35 minutes for that to happen. And then we got things rolling.
Right. That right there is the reason why I doubted the SI polar. I don't know that we pushed on it quite hard enough, and I am not sure that an ENTJ would be able to do that. So I'm going to push a little bit more on the SI.
To me, okay, yeah, go for it. I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. The emphasis on the polar SI thing is kind of odd to me anyway. I've never seen a typologist do that before. I've never seen such heavy emphasis and weight placed on it and making a typing thing. So that's totally new to me. So the fact that y'all place so much weight on it and are using that as like a funneling mechanism to help make the decision is kind of odd. I understand it because it can be a very prevalent distinguishing factor, but it's not something that, so whenever y'all ask questions to try to figure things out, I'm torn because answer to try to be myself, or do I answer to give them the information they're looking for, or do I preserve the exercise, or do I try not to and I get in this weird loop of like, am I really... how far do I go with the answer? What's the intent of me giving the information? And so I struggled a little bit with that yesterday, just being completely honest. And for anyone that saw it, you could probably see there was some hesitation whenever I talked. I wasn't quite. There's a lot going on up here before I would give an answer to things, and it's because I was trying to process whether I should concentrate on preserving the exercise or whether I should concentrate on being myself and giving information that's like completely unbiased. Because sometimes if you try so hard to be unbiased, you wind up unintentionally biasing. and I think that was kind of starting to happen yesterday.
Okay, so with regards to the SI test concern that you had, I guess it's boiling down to a difference in how we understand cognitive functions of personality type and how most other people understand, personality type. The reason why the SI test is reliable is because what SI is, a definition for SI is a way of knowing that is based on of what you've seen before, your bodily experience through time. It's physical knowing, right? Instead of NI, because there has to be mutual exclusivity here. NI is knowing without experience. So, the classic definition of, I guess the classic, what you would think of as intuition, essentially. Not needing to have...
gut intuition.
Right. So, because of SI being what you've seen before, heard before, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be necessary that, and we have seen it before many, many, many times, that if you're an ENTJ, you cannot recall specific details from memory like that, essentially, when we ask those kinds of SI questions.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
What I'm wondering is, because I did watch that video back, I think there was a certain point in the video where Eric asked you about a little, I don't know, conflict that you had with your wife.
Yeah.
And you said it was a couple days ago, and you remembered that it was in the living room.
Yeah.
But you couldn't remember any other details than that.
Well, I mean, there's that's not necessarily... The argument was about touchy-feely stuff,
Okay.
and how she felt. And she's ENFJ, so she's feelings on steroids, and I'm not. So me recalling details about feelings that I can't relate to is difficult anyway. I don't think it's because of an inherent lack of SI polarism. I think it's because...
Do you remember anything in particular that one of you said to the other?
Yeah, it was, I have a medical condition that I'm not going to talk about.
Okay.
And she said she compared my medical condition to her being allergic to ketchup. And she said that it's comparable. And it pissed me off, and it set me off because my medical condition is debilitating, and not being able to eat ketchup sucks, but it's not debilitating. And we had an argument about her choice of words, in specifically the word comparable, saying that a ketchup allergy is comparable to a debilitating medical condition. And then we had an argument about it.
Right. Do you remember about what time of day that happened?
7:30 p.m., 8.
See, that's why I'm doubting his SI polarness. Is that right there? He didn't do that in the video yesterday, but I mean, I think that could be for any number of reasons. I don't know. I think it's definitely worth re-examining. Skills test-wise, you could totally, I know that some ENFJs can fake it and make it up, if you will. They can sort of make up some stuff. But, yeah, and there's no way for me to verify if he did that, but it's still, what I can verify is what is those email exchanges that you had, that we had.
Yep.
How you remembered it.
True.
And yesterday you even gave me a time for like certain messages.
Yeah, I did
when
that
certain
today
messages
too.
were sent. And it's not like we had that email exchange right before the typing sessions either. It was
No, I haven't.
further back.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it today, but I can tell you that it was 12:56 p.m. is whenever you sent the one email saying that you're waiting for an email from Eric, and we didn't get a response until approximately 1:36 p.m. Pacific time.
Right. So let's try this now. We'll try the morning test that we did yesterday and see if we do any different on this. I asked this to my brother yesterday, I don't remember. I think it was today. I asked him. No, it was last night. I asked him the same question, and it took a lot of pushing, but I eventually could get it out of him.
Mhm.
it took quite a lot of effort. But that's the thing is yesterday I don't think that we actually pushed on it enough. And if you are an INTJ,
Yeah,
that would
see
be
that
consistent.
that's one thing that I expect from a topologist is if you're asking a question and you get an answer that could either be the person isn't giving enough information or it could be the answer, but you're unsure. You got to push it, man. You got to push it and drill it in and probe and probe and probe. And I feel like that didn't happen yesterday. And I'm willing to do that today. I mean, ask away. I'm an open
Hmm.
book. I love. I'll explain anything that you want me to. But if it's boring as shit, like asking me what I did when I woke up,
Right.
it's gonna like me saying that I can't remember what I did is also a euphemism for me saying that I don't want to remember what I did when I woke up.
Yeah.
So now if you take it a step further and say I don't care if you like it or want to remember it. Can you remember it? Can you? That's a different question.
Right. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily like to do that either, but it's not like
Yeah.
it's definitely more natural for me because I'm front stack. So, this morning I
Uh-huh.
woke up, I think first thing I did is I walked to my brother's room, I got a soda and I took some speed and then I got some coffee, waited for the speed to take effect and just hung out a
Uh-huh.
little bit. I listened to something. And then I think eventually we had the email exchange. Or no.
Uh-huh.
I saw your email to me and
Uh-huh.
Eric, and then I responded to you, and then blah 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 blah. Whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. Can you try and do that?
Where do you want me to start today, and how far do you want me to go?
Start with. I mean, as early as you can remember in the day. Like if you remember waking up, do that. First thing you
Yeah.
did, stuff like that.
Okay. I mean,
Insignificant details, and try and do them in order.
but because you're asking, I would never say this
Right.
out loud. But because you're using it as useful typing information, God damn it, here I go. Okay. I woke up at 6:05. My daughter came in and whispered into my ear, "Daddy, wake up." And then I didn't wake up. And then she yelled into my ear as loud as she could, "Daddy, wake up!" And then she smacked me in the face. And it was really cute. And I rolled over onto the 70% to the so the if from left to the right on your bed is in a 100% percentage scale, there's a golden spot on our bed that I call the 70% range. And for some reason, when I lay on the 70% northwest quadrant of the bed, it makes my back feel really good. I laid on that for 10 minutes and it made my back feel really, really good. The dogs are going ape shit. Bailey clawed me in the face. Charlie jumped up and licked me in the face. Tessa crawled up and laid on the left beside me and started licking my face.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, my daughter started saying, "Dad, Dad, feed the dogs. Dad, Dad, feed the dogs. Dad, Dad, feed the dogs. The dogs are hungry. Dad, Dad, feed the dogs. Get up, get up, get up." And it was really cute. So I rolled out of bed on the left side, which means I covered 70% of the bed to roll over onto the left side. I got up. I put my socks on immediately. My feet are cold as shit all the time ever since I turned 25. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I put some clothes on. I told Sylvia that I need to go to the bathroom. Went to the bathroom while the dogs are harassing the shit out of me. Sylvie, my daughter, brushed her teeth on the pink and white stool that gets on my nerves because whenever I go up to the sink, my feet hit it. And I walked into the kitchen, and the dogs were trying to trip me like they always do. Sylvie was tagging behind, saying, "Dogs don't run over me," and she was smacked a couple of them, which was really funny. I have a routine that I make my dogs do. I'm very serious about dog training. I made my dogs sit. I make my dogs sit every morning. They have to work for their food because it instills discipline in them. And so they sat down and waited. And because my daughter about 6 months ago interrupted the food feeding process, my poodle mix it has his discipline has been broken, and he no longer obeys whenever I tell him to eat. He has to be coerced into eating with bacon. So I took the bacon out of the refrigerator. I put a little bit of bacon in everybody's bowl. Tessa tried to eat it first. I made her stop. Bailey tried to eat it before I gave him permission. I made her stop. Charlie sniffed it, but because he has his little thing going on because of the broken behavior thing, he sat there and waited and started drooling. Scooped up their food and put it in their thing. I made them sit. They sat like good dogs. I let them eat. I got French toast sticks out of the refrigerator and gave them to my daughter. I put her in the red chair because she likes sitting in the red chair because it's really high up. She asked for apple juice. I mean, you want me to keep going or?
You're good. It's because it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened yesterday, but as long as that's all true, yeah, it seems pretty clear to me that that's not SI polar, obviously.
Yeah. So the question yesterday, the way I interpreted it, and when typing people, there's an element of interpretation that can muddy the waters.
Mm-hmm.
I interpreted it as, do you have an interest in what happened in the morning, which causes you to remember them vividly and you want to tell us about them? That's how I interpreted you asking me that. So my
Right.
answer is no, not really.
That's how NI DOMs typically interpret those questions, and if you ask an NI DOM to do that thing, it's very common in typing sessions that happens. Like if you go look at other typing sessions, NI DOMs do the exact same thing. They say, and they even give that disclaimer that you did before you told about that, about the just to let you know, I really would not be telling you this if it weren't for the fact that I'm doing this for the sake of the test and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's starting to look a whole lot more, at least for the skills tests, like too much detail for SI polar, like way too much. And out of all the other types, other than ENTJ, the only other type that you could be, according to our skills tests and according to also the value matrix, I'm going to ask you some value matrix questions as well, just to sort of, it's not super definitive or anything. You couldn't use just these to type people, but it'll be good supporting evidence, if you will, for your INTJ hood over ENTJ hood. Furthermore, it just seems to me you seem to be FE polar to me, but again, that's like, that's just kind of how you come off to me. I can't really. But let me ask you this: if you had to choose between a job, let's say that you're going into a telemarketing company or something like that, and they're in the entire building, you can either choose between two positions, making the same amount of money in both, and blah blah blah. You can either be a telemarketer, try and sell stuff to people, basically, or you can be the guy to give people their lunch breaks and put people on stations at certain times and stuff like that. Which one would you prefer doing?
The second one.
Okay. And why is that?
Sales. I hate conflict. I don't like talking people into things that they're not comfortable with. I'll debate people as long as there's a mutually agreed upon respect and pleasantry beforehand and agreed upon positive nature of it. But like the inherent nature of being a telemarketer where you're trying to convince someone of something that they probably don't want for the manipulative reason of making money or other things, I don't like that. I don't like conflict. I don't like arguing. I don't do well emotionally whenever I get worked up. I don't like when. Here's another big thing. I don't like when other people don't like me. I can't deal with that. I don't like disharmony in my external environment. I can't stand knowing that someone doesn't like me. That's very, very, very bothersome to me.
Okay. Let's say this is your only source of income, and you make
Mm-hmm.
much more money with the telemarketing position than with the
Uh-huh.
sort of supervisorial position. In this case, would you rather be a telemarketer then? Like, let's say you kind of maybe struggle to get by in the supervisorial position,
Mm-hmm.
and with the telemarketer position, you're almost comfortable. I don't really want to give specific numbers because I'm not going to fuck around with doing that.
Yeah, it's really difficult to answer that because there's so many variables and
Yeah.
possibilities at play. I mean, I'm inclined to say I would still not go for the higher paying job, but at the same time, um, the job that I have right now in real life is high paying, and I'm extremely successful at it.
Right.
And it's not something that comes natural to me. I had to work at it. I didn't like it at first, but I made it work and I enjoy it now. So the scenario that you're saying, maybe there's like room for me to like grow into it. But if you're asking like just from a decision standpoint, that job sounds like my worst fucking nightmare. And I don't know if there's an amount of money that could make me do it.
Okay. Cool. Um, Here's another thing that you noted. I think it was yesterday during the typing session. One of the first things
Uh-huh.
that sort of gave me some doubts about your ENTJ-ness
Uh-huh.
was the fact that you don't like to accomplish things and you don't like to get shit done.
Yes. It's
Um,
I'd like to expand upon that if you don't mind.
sure.
So it's not that I don't like accomplishing things. If I accomplish something, I'm like, huh, a thing is accomplished. It's but I don't dislike it. It's that I don't get satisfaction from it. I
Right.
get no enrichment from something being completed. It for me, the satisfaction of a task is thinking about the best way to do it. I just thought of a really good way to do that. I ain't doing that shit. Let's just be honest. I'm not doing that. But we can find somebody to do it. But damn it, we're doing it the right way because we that was a really good idea and we're doing it the right way. And it, for example, if there's a huge project at work, I work with a ton of SJ types at work, and you should see them whenever they finish something. You can see it in their face how good they feel and how much they enjoy completing things, just getting it across the finish line. That's what it's about for them, is the finish line, getting it done. Me, when I push that shit over the finish line, I'm like, that was goddamn awful, and I wish somebody else would have did it.
You and you even
I
struggle to
get
get things
nothing
done,
from
probably.
it. Mundane tasks, yes. Menial task, yes. If it's something that is only I can do and it requires critical thinking, I'll get that shit done because it's fun.
Right.
But if it's something where it's like making widgets and I need to make 10 widgets a week and they serve no purpose, someone's gonna have to threaten me to make me do it because
Yeah.
I get no satisfaction
Well, I'm
from it
sure if
and
it
I
served
just
no
don't care.
purpose, then everybody would probably hate doing that. But
Well, I don't know, man. There's some SJ types that would get enrichment from it, even if it served no purpose. I think.
another thing is there's no way for me to jump beside you and watch you do your everyday tasks and take notes and see if it looks more like fourth or third slot. But you did note in the conversation we had yesterday that you even take amphetamines sometimes to get your, or I don't know, you might even regularly take them to because you know
Yeah.
that might be better evidence of fourth slot SE than third slot. I mean, I'm not gonna say that that an ENTJ would never take amphetamines ever, but
They would get some. They would really get some shit done if they took amphetamines. Holy
right.
shit!
I don't think they need it. I don't think they need it at all.
Oh no, no.
Um,
But now I take them for a couple of reasons. Number one is it helps with my depression. I've had ongoing major clinical depression since I was about 27. I'm 36 now. The best, the essentially the tried and true medicine that works the best for me to treat that is an amphetamine, and so it that's the primary reason I take it. I also take it because I lack the innate ability to get a dopamine rush from finishing things and from thinking about starting a project and driving it to completion. And the amphetamine gives me a bump that at least gets me started, and usually it helps me get to the end. So there's a it's not just wee, this feels good. No, there's a there I have a a very very serious reason why I take them. They make they result in a dramatic quality of life improvement for me.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It, yeah. I'm not so good at pushing for FI. I wouldn't be able to tell you if you're what slot you have FI in. But my brother is an INTJ. He says that he saw FI in you, and so
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
the one thing that I can say about that is I don't feel anything. When I say that I don't feel anything, I mean that I feel like a robot on the inside. I've always felt like a robot on the inside, whether mental illness or not. I've never had emotions, but then on the emotion scale, I'm hovering at about a 0.5. But then whenever I encounter an emotion, it goes to goddamn 12 out of 10, and it's uncontrollable and it's outward. It's not on the inside. I'm talking jumping up and down on my computer, destroying it, throwing shit, screaming matches, destroying things. It's uncontrollable Hulk rage whenever. And it's not like boiling in here, it's all going out. I've been seen lots of counselors to try to get it under control, and I've done a good job, especially since my daughter was born, because I don't want her ever seeing that. But most days I'm hovering at a 0.5, and I never go above that the whole day. And then once a month, something will set me off, and I'll go to 12. But otherwise, I don't feel anything in here. Period. There's no emotions. And so the whole sense of like FI doesn't resonate with me whatsoever.
well,
It just doesn't.
here's what I'll point out is what you just did there is an example of FI. It's not the emotions you feel. That's
Uh-huh.
everybody has those. I've got a shit ton of emotions myself, but I couldn't
Uh-huh.
do what you just did at all, which is describe almost in a mechanical like fashion how your emotions behave on a day-to-day basis and how you deal with those
Uh-huh.
and how you can sort of anticipate when certain emotional outbursts might happen and stuff like that. That sounds more like
Uh-huh.
deliberation about FI, which I'm so I mean I'm not really sure how much INTJs feel really. I mean
Uh-huh.
I don't.
I mean, I know they're not batting super high with the emotions. I understand that, but the reason why I'm more inclined to think I'm INTP is because they're FE fourth slot, and their emotions go outwards, and they're extremely immature at controlling them and understanding them. They don't know when they're feeling them. They don't know how to express them, and that's fucking me. That's me.
I mean, INTPs are actually very effective at controlling their emotions. Eighth slot is not bad. Eighth
Right.
slot is
Well,
actually,
like I said, 99% of the time, I'm controlling them.
but here's the
You
thing
never,
though, is they're
never
not
know that they
conscious
happen.
about it at all. They don't ever think about it. It doesn't ever cross their mind. It's pretty much
I don't.
like, and I don't even mean like having emotions or not. I mean,
Uh-huh.
like, for me, with my SE, I don't ever think about getting things done. I get a lot of shit done, though. It doesn't ever cross my mind. It's pretty much the autopilot function, you could say, I suppose I
I
got.
think I think we're saying the same thing. Whenever you say that you don't think about it, I don't think about my emotions either. The reason I'm describing the way I am is because we're making a concentrated effort to make a distinguishment between FI, FE, which one I have, which one I use. If you
Well,
know
what do you
any
think
day of the
FE
week, I
is?
never. It's hard for me to relate to. It's harmony in the external world. It's the the outward. You're affected by outward emotions. The you don't have like this brooding stuff inside where there's like got a little bit of goth brooding moodiness going on. Like that to me that's FI more FI like. FE is more of like the outward. I wish for things to remain pleasant in my external world. I want people's emotions to be, happy and normal, and I want things to be. I don't like conflict. I don't like arguing with people. I don't like debating with people unless there's an absolute agreement about it beforehand. But it's not something that I've ever had a real good grasp on, to be honest, because I just can't relate to either one of them.
Right. I will say neither the FI description of the FI descriptions I don't think we could really use either one to make a definitive answer on anybody's type. Now for FE, I mean, I'm not really sure. Well, you're all right that the conflict thing is the conflict
Uh-huh.
avoidance thing is a part of FE. What you've described is definitely a part of FE, but it's not. If I were to describe the function of FE like you would describe a function like in math, it would
Yeah.
probably be a little different. It would probably be something more like interface based
Uh-huh.
on the like rendering the constantly changing social thing into a static thing that you can use an interface with.
Yeah.
So,
Like the one thing that also about INTJs and ENTJs especially is they like a good debate. They like a good argument. Like they look forward to the back and forth. ENTJs especially. They're not. I don't like that.
well,
I don't
ENTJs
like
and
debating
INTJs don't
people.
necessarily like to argue, though. That's definitely more of an
I,
NTP
I,
thing.
I disagree with that. I mean, when I say the bouncing ideas back and forth, I think there's a distinction between that. Like what me and you are doing right now, I wouldn't consider it to be debating or arguing. What I'm saying
Certainly
is,
not.
whenever there's like a confrontation and someone's challenging you, I don't like that
Well, I
because
will say this:
I can't handle the.
INTJs are
Sorry,
typically.
you broke up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Is it good now?
Yeah, and I missed the first part of what you were saying. So please start from like 10 seconds ago.
Oh, okay, okay. INTJs are typically naturally good at it, but they're not inclined to it necessarily. Um, ENTJs are terrible, honestly. They're pretty bad at debate. Um, ENTPs and INTPs are both
And
naturally
I
good.
don't know that I need more than that. Like I've
Right.
what I know about ENTJs isn't that they're not good at it. Like an ENTJ will shut you the fuck down real quick.
Well, they're
Now whether they're right or not is beside the point. But if they're in a debate, they know how to get their point across and make everybody in the room shut the fuck up and do what they're saying. They're really good at that.
Unless they're faced with an ENTP, in which case they get completely out meta and destroyed. They
Right,
won't
but they
last a
don't
second with
care
an
about
ENTP.
that though. But they have a low tolerance of that. So in I guess it
Well,
depends
then
on
that's
the
just having
environment
a
too.
bad temperament.
Yes.
I don't think that's necessarily debate. When we're talking about debate, I think we're talking about rhetoric,
Uh-huh.
right? So being married to your position and
Uh-huh.
duking it out with your ideas. In that
Yeah.
sense, ENTJs are not super great at it. And the reason is because of SI polar. They simply can't hold that much information in their head at once and respond to everything that, a certain person's, like a given person says, point by point by point.
Yeah.
That's just,
Yeah. I
without
get.
that SI, it's just not super easy for them at all.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you're measuring the effectiveness of the debate. In the in the end, if it's getting people to do what you want them to do, whether they agree or not, ENTJs are good at that. Now, whether it's a logical, I won through debate principles and sound logic, and that I would agree with you. ENTJs, that's really not super important to them. Like they're not the ones that I've met. Like being absolutely 100% right isn't really. That's not really a roadblock for them. They're driven by results and effectiveness almost at the cost of that. Like they're okay if it's as long as you're making progress towards something, they're okay with a little bit of, this may not be the absolute right best course of action, but at least we're getting something done.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this much. I definitely think we can eliminate. I almost think we can just eliminate ENTJ. After that
Yeah.
SI thing that I told you earlier, I think that
Uh-huh.
ENTJ is probably out.
Yep.
And really, I came into this with the intention of distinguishing between those two because I think that every other type we can probably eliminate just based on the skills test. Particularly,
Uh-huh.
we can probably eliminate INTP just through not only the TI test but also the NE test that I gave you. And
I don't agree. I need more than that. If we're going to eliminate INTP, I've got to have more because
so, what do you
my
think? What do you think makes up the INTP personality type? What do you think the INTP personality type is? What is TI?
um uh which part do you want me to answer? Like, what is TI, or
Sure, go
what
with
is
what's
what makes
TI.
up the?
What's TI, and why are you a TI Dom?
Uh, the universe is in my head. I never, ever, ever stop taking in information from things that I learn in the outside world and categorizing it in a huge database in my head that has nodes connected between each other, and all that information has been classified and pulled out from all the research that I do, never ending research. And that leads me to think and think and think about thinking and think about thinking about thinking. And it never ever stops. That's me to a T.
You've just
And
described you've pretty much described NI in a nutshell. That's NI for sure. More than
I
TI.
disagree. I don't pull information from a gut intuition that I have. The information that is in my head has all been taken in
Right,
from the
but what you're
outside
saying
world.
is information, epistemology, right? Knowing.
I don't know what epistemology
It
means.
means knowing. So what you're talking about is knowing. NI is a knowing function along with SI. TI is not a
Uh-huh.
knowing function. TI works
Uh-huh.
without any, like, pretty much, the point of the TI test that we give you for that reason is substitute, these variables with other words. It doesn't matter which ones you use, and you'll still get the same result. It's all
Well,
universal
for,
logic.
first off, that logic test they all gave me was false.
What do you mean
Like
it was
it's
false?
the words that Eric chose to administer the test, it wasn't right. He wrote it backwards.
What do you mean?
It's backwards. He meant to he flip flopped the statements line 2 and 3 and he was trying to administer
Well, can you tell me what the words were then for the
yeah.
test?
Yeah, I took a screenshot because I knew that it was messed up.
Okay.
He said only lizards are amphibians. Frogs are amphibians, therefore frogs are lizards.
Okay. So what's the problem with
It,
this?
it the
With the conclusion, that's okay.
the only lizards are amphibians. It doesn't jive with line 2. It should say only lizards are amphibians. Lizards are amphibians, therefore frogs are amphibians. Like the amphibian section that lines 2 and 3, they are flip flopped.
Well, if he's saying only lizards are amphibians and then frogs are amphibians, since we've already said that only lizards can be amphibians, then logically it has to be so that frogs also must be lizards. Otherwise, there would be contradictory premises. It wouldn't work.
I mean, it's the word only doesn't that's not a. It depends on which layer you're looking at it from. Like
Well,
if it's the
we can
mailman
substitute
problem.
with any word though. Like think about it this way. What if we said only donuts? Well, no, because there are other pastries. I'm gonna try and do this in a different way. Okay, so only pastries are donuts. Okay, so donuts are nothing but pastries, and I guess. But I mean, well, yeah. But so only pastries are donuts. A flab is a donut. Therefore, the flab also must be a pastry.
But see, what you just said isn't the same order that what Eric said. You said only pastries are donuts.
Yes,
Pastry is
only
the.
A's are B's. C's are B's. Therefore, C's
I know,
also must be A's.
please let me explain. Only lizards are amphibians. Frogs are amphibians. Amphibians is the commonality between the two. What you just said is that pastries is the commonality between the donut and the other thing, but you said the
No, the donut
commonality
is.
as object A. That's not what you said. You
Okay,
said only pastries are donuts.
only pastries are donuts, yes. And a flab
So
is a donut.
you're using the commonality as what you're comparing to.
What? Well, hold on, no. The common variable that you're talking about with the amphibians is to donuts, not to pastries. Pastries is the thing that is the. So listen, only pastries are donuts. So nothing but pastries can be donuts. Now, if I say a flab is a donut, that means that these two words must be synonymous. They must mean the same thing. Therefore, it is now okay for flabs to be donuts.
What is a flab?
I just made the word up.
You just made it okay.
Yeah,
I was wondering if you made it up. Yes.
Yeah, I was just because.
Okay. I thought you were using the word pastries as the commonality between the two. Sorry, I understand what you're saying now.
So if you heard that word being spoken, if you heard that word being spoken, you were like, you were listening to me, and I was saying, yeah, I had a great flab the other day, and then you were like, oh, what's that? And I said, oh, it's a type of donut. Then you automatically know that it must be a pastry. Because donuts are pastries. Now, it was a little weird because I said only pastries, but it still logically follows anyway in both scenarios. If I said all donuts are pastries, which really, I should have said that, all donuts are pastries, but either way, it still logically follows either way.
Yeah, only donuts or pastries is what I was thinking that it should be. But
well, no,
can
because
the mailman question?
The what?
The mailman logic question? The mailman question?
What's that? No, I haven't heard that.
Well, Eric said it yesterday.
Oh,
all
okay.
mailmen carry letters.
Yes.
Is that the same question that you're asking?
No.
Is that the same type of question?
Different question.
But it's a logic question trying to accomplish the same thing, right?
But it has different connectors. So it's a different question, equation-wise, quote unquote, than the other one. Because the other one's a syllogism. That one's just well, actually, I don't know if they're both syllogisms. I don't know if the mailman one would be considered a syllogism. Either way, it's a different question. It's saying all A's are B's, all B's are C's, therefore A's must also be C's. That's not what the first question
Right.
was at all. So
Yeah.
I still struggle to see the issue. Either way, the thing is, when we asked you those questions, it wasn't instinctive at all. It wasn't as natural as INTPs would be. You made some mistakes. INTPs don't make mistakes. The TI. That's kind of their thing. They never miss a beat.
Yes, but TI
That's how
is not
that's
something
how I
that you're
figured out
just
I'm not an
Johnny.
INTP.
INTPs are generally speaking not just Johnny on the spot. It requires no processing time, no mulling over, just out, instant on. Like there, some questions are going to require, especially if it's the thing with
No, pretty much they're always like that.
I disagree. I mean, I simply disagree. I've watched too many YouTubers, too many INTP YouTubers. I disagree with that.
Well, then if
Man,
then
and
they're
I've seen
not
some.
INTPs then.
Uh,
Unless it's a
I don't have
really,
data to show
really
that.
hard question. Unless it's like the that hats question. I don't know if you've heard the hats question.
We'll hold that thought for a moment, please. The notion that because I can't take in a problem orally, AUR orally, without seeing it visually. Eric was saying that has to do with MBTI, and I disagree with that too. I don't think I think that's an individual thing, and I saw a couple people in the YouTube comments say that they agreed also. That has nothing to do with MBTI. Some people just
Well,
suck at
sure.
taking information
I won't
orally.
even. I won't
So
even.
what I'm saying is, if y'all would give me those questions written down, I would fucking ace them. But I can't take them in orally and do it in my head like that. That's just not the way I work.
Something else was the NE test that I gave you. Even if I gave you the benefit of the doubt with the TI, the NE test is already enough to eliminate INTP. You didn't.
Which one was it?
Well, I did the metered verse thing, metered verse poem, and improvising that on the spot. Okay, I'll give you a different one.
That's still. Is it going to require me to remember something that you said out loud and repeat it? Because if so, I'm going to suck at it. That's not the way I work. It's just not. I've never been able to do that. It's been something that I've been crippled by my whole life.
Right, but I'll give you some other NE tests that don't require that.
Okay.
I won't touch on the remembering things that were spoken and that kind of stuff. Can you give me as many synonyms as you can think of for the word knife?
Knife?
Yes.
Blade, katana, weapon, sharpened dagger, serration,
Sword.
Well, I mean,
that one's kind of weird. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. That's
what about
yeah.
As many words as you can think of that rhyme with helmet.
Helmet.
I don't even know if there are any words that rhyme. I could probably.
Like that's not a good. That's not gonna work. You can't ask me to give as many words as I can think of that rhyme with orange. Like it's not.
There are some.
I need. What I'm saying is the word that you chose is self-defeating the purpose of the exercise. Like if you want me to think of other words that rhyme with
I can't give you a
sure.
word that's like incredibly easy, or else everybody would be able to pass it. Or everyone would be able to do it fairly easily. I mean, the point is to see if you're willing to stretch and give me words that don't quite perfect rhyme, and see if you just do that naturally. knife, I could have chosen a little bit of a more difficult word than that, but even still, it shows definitely that you're not polar NE. It shows that you're not, I would say, obviously you're not eighth slot NE, and then it's not really definitive outside of that, really. But, anyway, for the, if we're going back to the other NE test, the meter verse thing. So, okay, obviously you don't want to remember something that I had said before. So why don't you improvise 4 lines, 4 meter verse lines that all rhyme, or goes rhyme 1, rhyme 2, rhyme 1, rhyme 2. So A B A B. Can
I
you
mean, if
improvise
you
a poem like that?
is it without writing it down and within a certain time period while looking at you, or do I have time to write it down myself and get in my TI mode and sit down and do it instead of trying to balance you at the same time?
No, no, you don't. No, writing it down that would make it to where anybody could do it. That's kind of the
No,
point.
not anybody can do that. Not within a certain time period.
I mean, sure, within a certain time period. Yeah, sure. I don't think any polar person will be able to just do that, writing it down like really quickly. But other than that, it's not
Right.
definitive for anything.
What I'm saying is, if you give me a sheet of paper and it's a list of questions and information to memorize, and you give me 5 minutes to memorize it, and you give me a test on it, I'm going to make 100. It's going to be a perfect score. So but if you say those words out loud to me and then quiz me on it, I'm not going to have any idea what you're talking about. So it's a I feel like there's some subjectiveness and individualism at play over how people, and I've at my job I have to research learning styles for as a profession, and there are models out there that show that there are people learn in drastically different ways independent of things like personality type and thing
Which one shows that? I mean, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but I haven't seen a whole lot of studies on personality type in general. So I'm going to be honest. The notion that learning styles and personality type being studied so formally and in a way that's actually like the results of which can actually like tell us something very definitive is a little dubious to me. But continue.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I'm not just talking out of my ass. Like I have to research this stuff for my job, and they're being people absorbing information in dramatically different ways, even though they share other commonalities. It's I don't think that the correlation exists of being able to absorb and on the fly spout out information like that in forms of cognitive functions. I'm not convinced of that.
Well, I mean, depending on how we define the cognitive functions and how we define ANE, it's the metaphysical action function. So when we're opposing it to SE, which is the physical action function, is taking action, obviously on the physical plane, which means getting shit done, doing like actually like checking things off of a list.
Yes,
All
yes.
of these things I can't test. We don't have an SE polar test, unfortunately. I'd love to come up with one. If I could test you for the SE and show that you're definitely not SE polar or that you are SE polar, then that would be perfectly definitive. What I can test though is SE through lack of any. And I'm not saying your NE is bad or anything like that. I'm not saying your NE is but it's definitely not first or second slot. It seems to me, and that's another thing is like what Eric, one of his things that he said about you being not being an INTJ and instead of being that or whatever, he said you were an ENTJ. So one of the things that he said when I brought up you being an INTJ instead is the TI would be different. The TI would be obviously more active than where you have it. I'm not really sure if the skills test can really distinguish between fifth and sixth slot, but what I can tell you is that it would be very obvious if you were in the first or second slot, and you would.
Yeah.
And what NE is, in order to be an NE user, you have to be able to take in information orally, as you as you pointed out, AUR, and be able to improvise stuff like that poem thing that I was talking about. That's if
I
without
mean,
doing that, you can't be an NE user in the first two slots.
I understand what you're saying, and I like that you just use the word improvise, because that like I'm a improvise is my third middle name. I think I've said that like 3 times now. I'm a fantastic improviser. I can get out of no, whenever the shit hits the fan, that I'm the person that they come to. Improvising is what I do. I'm just not convinced that it
That's
manifests itself in the same way for everyone.
That's not no, that's not what I meant by improvise though. What I meant by improvise was improvise things such as like if I got on my guitar and I actually knew how to play because I'm pretty terrible at guitar right now. Um, if I actually could play the guitar, I could improvise full lyrics for you. It
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be super fantastic or anything all the time, but sometimes there would be some really good moments, whatever. I could improvise lyrics and I could do that forever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's a different kind of improvisation than um, there's a technical problem somewhere, and then I have to go and figure it all out on the fly and do that, and like sort of like
Right.
um, troubleshooting and stuff like that. That's a
Yeah.
different kind of improvisation. That's a more
Yes.
TE type of stuff. It's interface.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Um, and you said you get your juice from problem solving as well. That's
Well, I wanted to go back to that. I was talking to my brother about this, and I may have misinterpreted that question. What do y'all mean whenever you say where do you get your juice from? What does that mean?
what gives you satisfaction. What is your reward in life? What feels good to do, to be able to successfully attend to. So for me, it's whenever people give me praise and affirmation. That's when I feel, yeah, that's nice. I got complimented. I really
Yeah.
impressed these people. That kind of stuff. That's especially going to give me a whole lot of satisfaction compared to my brother who's an INTJ. He does not like that. He doesn't like
Uh-huh.
getting praise. It's actually quite
Yes.
obnoxious for him.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I don't mind praise. I don't consider it obnoxious, but I don't need it a lot either. But if it's someone that I respect a lot, I do enjoy getting it. But if it's someone that's kind of like on the same level as me, it but they so how I interpreted the question yesterday about the juice thing, how you just explained it is not quite how I interpreted it yesterday. So my answer was probably
what was your answer? Or no, not what was your answer. How did you interpret it?
I thought like how do you what gives you juice? I think is how Eric put it.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought y'all were saying like what's thrilling and gets you hyped up. What gives you what gets you in your mode, and what you just said about what you just described it a little bit differently, and it's making me wonder if like it's not like I'm just constantly solving problems. Like I don't just like sit around solving problems. I don't look for problems to solve even unless someone asks me to. But if I'm asked to, I'm really good at it, really good at it, and I feel good when I do it. But in terms of my day to day life, what I'm striving to do on a day to day basis is learn from outside sources. That's what I do all the time. I'm in a never ending thirst for knowledge for the sake of knowledge. I want to cram every piece of information about everything I can learn into my head, whether it helps me make decisions or not, whether it benefits me in any way or not. I don't care. I want to know everything about everything. And that's how I spend most of my days.
Okay. I'm cooking up a question right now.
Sure.
I'm going to give you two things. You tell me what gives you more satisfaction, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to do this probably several times.
All right.
What gives you more satisfaction between these two things? Talking about everything that happened in a day or something like that. Spilling all the details about something to somebody, or successfully completing a project you've been working on for a very long time.
Which gives me more satisfaction is the question.
Yeah.
I would get zero satisfaction from telling someone about the details of my day.
Okay.
I mean, like if it's negative, it would be negative.
Right.
I don't get a lot of satisfaction out of completing a project, but if I'm forced to choose between the two, on a 100-point scale, I would give 3 points to finishing a project, whereas the other one would be 0.
Okay. Which of these two? Learning more about cognitive functions and personality type, or eating a really nice meal?
Eating gives me zero satisfaction whatsoever. I don't even remember it. I don't experience it. It's like nothing ever happened. It means nothing to me. Learning about cognitive function gives me a boner. I'm just joking, but I love it.
Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it there. I just wanted to sort of like have that be as unbiased as I possibly could get it.
Yeah.
Right. So between those two, I basically asked which one gives you more satisfaction, NI or SI, and you chose NI. That sort of knowledge that we're talking about is NI knowledge. It's not based on experience at all. The INTP would probably choose eating.
I disagree with that. If you read the literature, INTPs are known for not having any type of sensory experience with food.
Well, then that's wrong. Those descriptions are wrong. Then they're completely wrong.
I disagree.
They have SI in the third slot, and that's what gives them the most satisfaction in life. Is getting nice and warm in the bath, and then getting out and making a cup of coffee and drinking the cup of coffee, sipping on it, and eating a nice meal, and preferably having their ESFJ wife come over and give them a pat on the back and tell them how good of a job they did and how genius they are, and then they can continue on eating their meal and drinking their coffee and whatever. That's what gives them satisfaction in life. And the knowing a lot of information about things like that is an NI type of knowledge.
I disagree.
Because the way that we've defined this, NI and SI are both forms of knowing, right? So NI is metaphysical,
sure,
and thus not experientially. It's experientially based, and SI is. SI is knowing based on your bodily experience through time.
Sorry, I lost the last 10 seconds of what you said.
SI is knowing based on your bodily experience through time. So eating, the satisfaction of eating is a part of SI. Did you get that?
If you said anything about if you said anything after eating is a part of SI, I didn't hear it.
Right. Well, the satisfaction of eating is a part of SI, not eating in general. Obviously, everybody eats, but
Yeah.
the satisfaction of eating is absolutely SI. I've got a brother who's an INTJ, and he himself doesn't get any satisfaction from eating. That doesn't get he pretty much only eats because he has to. SI is eighth slot for him. It's not like he uses it to get off, if you will. I don't want to. It's kind of weird to use that phrasing because it sounds like it gives him sexual pleasure.
I know what you're saying. No, I know what you're saying.
Even for me, within the fourth slot, it's like it's not quite SI third, but it's still very pleasurable for me to stuff my face and get in a nice hot shower. I take extremely long showers, but I mean that's not really. I think almost everybody takes long showers, and everybody kind of just says like that. People think that's unique to them, but there's a very clear difference between SI in the front stack, and anybody who does have SI in the front stack will get satisfaction from SI stuff like that. And I don't know. It's like I think we've done a pretty good job, at least, of making a pretty goddamn convincing argument against you being an ENTJ, which I think
in agreement.
At least getting that far, it probably is much more satisfying than INTJ as an answer over ENTJ. And I'm really not sure how to I don't know. We could probably keep going on and on.
Yeah, I mean, and that's okay. I mean, it's okay that we haven't come to a conclusion. I'm okay with that. I mean,
well, I think
wish
I
that
have. I think I have got a pretty good conclusion. I think you're an INTJ, and I'm pretty confident about it.
When I say conclusion, I mean agreement. Sorry, wrong word.
Right. Okay.
I don't agree with that. I think I'm INTP, but it's okay that we disagree because what you're saying makes sense. What you're saying does make sense. You're using logical things that that it makes sense. It's just the INTJ, using your gut to make decisions, task oriented, the J life, that it's just not me. It's just not. It's not. I'm not. I can't relate to that side of the. I relate to a lot of being an INTJ, but not that in any way. So, but again, what you're saying, the things that you've observed, they do make sense. I'm just saying that I can't relate to it. It just doesn't. It doesn't jive with me.
It's the J part of it, and it's also the gut feeling type thing that basically we're talking about.
Right? I don't have gut feelings. That's not how I work. I say I've learned this from this place. Here's how it's connected because of these different things that I've learned. Here's the nodes. I can literally tell you what I've learned in the outside world that proves that I know what I'm talking about.
Although intuition is definitely encapsulated within NI, I don't think it's the case that INTJs make decisions based on their gut feelings primarily. They're rationalists.
Right. I know the gut feeling is not what I meant. Gut intuition is a better way of saying it.
I mean, they're rationalists, so really they dismiss the idea of making rash decisions based on your gut feeling in the first place. They're some of the most non-religious, rationalist sort of people on the planet.
Yes, but I'd agree with
that. So I don't know that would that the gut making decisions based on gut feelings would apply to INTJs in the first place.
Like I said, gut feeling isn't the right way to describe it. That's what I said.
Gut intuition. Right. I don't think gut intuition would either, though.
But there's an element of NI where you reach inward to your intuition comes from within. You're not reaching for external.
NI is universal knowledge. It's universal knowing. It's knowing. It's objective knowledge. That's what NI is. SI is subjective knowledge. It's information that's accessible by the subject.
Yes.
NI is information that's accessible to everyone. It would make sense that you would get satisfaction from learning more information as an NI Dom.
I just don't think that INTJs learn information for the sake of learning it for absolutely no purpose.
Yeah, they do. That's that their absolute
Every
value is NI.
every MBTI book that you'll read says that the
Well, then
reason
those
they learn
books are
information.
wrong.
Well, I need more than that. I need more than you simply saying they're wrong.
Well, okay, the reason that they're wrong is because they're talking in metaphor. They're not actually using. They're not actually like here's the thing. You could model our system. You could put it in a computer simulation and falsify it. We have ways of information flow, action, deliberation, interface, and knowing. So put, get, receive, interface.
Yes, but your model also led Eric to think that I'm an ENTJ.
No, I don't think it does. I think that Eric, he unfortunately didn't push on your SI enough. The model actually says, you actually provided enough SI, I think, for me to make the conclusion that you're an INTJ. But
you see what I'm getting at, though. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of publications over decades, and you're simply saying that they're all wrong. I mean,
I am. Lots of things are wrong for a long time.
I know that. I'm intuitive. I know that. What I'm saying is it's a lot to swallow.
Right.
I need something more concrete than they're all wrong.
All right. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna go ahead and at least cut the recording here, and we can probably keep talking if you want.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Here's the thing. My conclusion, my official typing of you is INTJ.
Okay. I think that your conclusion is founded on good reasoning, and I think that we've came a long way, and I appreciate you spending the time with us today.
Oh yeah, sure. I enjoyed it nonetheless. So, tell me if you disagree, and people who are watching this, I guess I don't know how many people are going to watch this because I haven't really uploaded a whole lot of stuff on my channel. So, I'd like to see what Eric thinks. If you're watching this, if you think that still wasn't enough SI to justify him not being SI polar, then let me know. Whatever, we'll have some discourse about it. So anyway, that is the